My name's Everett Calloway, and I ain't the type to scare easy. I was born and raised in North Carolina, where the land is as old as time itself, steeped in stories folks don't like to talk about once the sun goes down. From the Blue Ridge Mountains to the Cape Fear River, this state holds secrets, some buried deep in the hollers and others lurking just beyond the tree line. And what happened to me in 2009 deep in the Cape Fear River wilderness? That's a story that still keeps me up at night. I ain't no superstitious fool, but I know what I saw, and no amount of whiskey or denial's gonna change it. Me, my boy Jonas, and 3 of my closest buddies had been planning this hunting trip for months. We just bought new rifles, top of the line. I was packing a Remington 700. Red had his brand new 308, and Jonas, my teenage son, was breaking in his first real hunting rifle, a Winchester Model 70. He was just 16, but he'd been shooting since he was 10, so he wasn't green. We were ready to put some meat in the freezer and have a hell of a time doing it. We left town early around 4:30 a.m. sharp, packed to the brim with ammo, supplies, and enough beer to drown a horse. The drive was about 80 miles out, deep into the Cape Fear River wilderness, a place we knew well enough but never stayed overnight in. Too damn wild, too many stories of folks seeing shit they couldn't explain. But hell, we weren't scared. Not yet. By the time we got there, it was pushing 2:00 p.m. We parked the trucks, hiked about 3 miles in, and set up camp near a clearing that gave us a good view of the river. It was prime hunting ground, fresh deer tracks, signs of wild hogs, and the occasional black bear marking. We spent a solid 2 hours setting up, pitching our tents, gathering firewood, and getting the hunting gear ready. The plan was simple: hunt at dusk, cook what we caught, and drink until we either passed out or ran out of shit to say. Around 5:30 p.m., we split up, Red and Travis heading north, Mike and Jonas going west, and me sticking near camp to keep the fire going. Sun was dipping low, painting the sky in this eerie orange glow. The woods were too damn quiet. No birds, no bugs, just the sound of wind. That should have been my first red flag, but I chalked it up to my nerves. An hour passed, then 2. By 7:45 p.m., everyone was back except Jonas. I wasn't worried. Kid probably chased a deer too far or got distracted. But by 8:15 p.m., my gut started twisting. We grabbed our flashlights and went looking, calling his name. We searched about a mile deep into the woods, and then, out of nowhere, Red spotted him standing just outside our flashlight's reach, staring at a tree like he was hypnotized. "Jonas, what the hell you doing?" I yelled. He turned slowly, eyes wide as hell, his face pale like he'd seen the devil himself. He didn't answer, just stumbled toward us, shaking like he was freezing. I grabbed him by the shoulders, shaking him. "The hell happened to you?" His voice came out barely above a whisper. "I saw something, Dad." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "What do you mean, something?" He swallowed hard. It wasn't human. Before I could press him, the low hum filled the silence, a sound that crawled into my bones. Then, the sky lit up like someone flipped a stadium light on. 3 massive orange spheres hovered just above the treetops, pulsating like they were alive. Mike muttered, "Jesus Christ." Then the lights started moving. Fast. Too fast. 1 second, they were a mile out. The next, right on top of us. The hum turned into a deep, stomach-churning vibration. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw something worse. An egg-shaped craft, metallic, dark, and covered in jagged, spike-like protrusions, descended from the sky like an alien. It hovered barely 50 yards away, silent but menacing like it was sizing us up. "Run," I barked, pushing Jonas ahead of me. We bolted back toward camp, tearing through the underbrush like madmen. The creature followed, gliding through the trees, weaving between them like it had a mind of its own. We made it back to camp, grabbed our rifles, and turned to face it. Then, just as fast as it came, it shot straight up into the sky and vanished. The silence that followed was deafening. No one spoke. No one moved. We just stood there, gripping our guns. We were shaking with fear. What the hell just happened? We packed up our stuff and tore out of there by 11:30 p.m. Each of us, too wired to sleep, too freaked out to talk about it. But it didn't end there. A week passed. Then, one night around 2:45 a.m., I woke up to a strange glow outside my bedroom window. I grabbed my rifle, crept to the back door, and looked out. There, standing in my yard, was a figure tall, thin, and glowing faintly, like it wasn't fully there. It had no face, just two sunken black pits where eyes should have been. I raised my gun, but the moment I did, it vanished. Not ran. Not disappeared into the woods. Just gone. Like it had never been there at all. Over the next few months, Jonas had nightmares, swore he felt something watching him. The others wouldn't talk about it, wouldn't even acknowledge it happened. But I knew better. Something out there, something not human had found us that night, and I don't think it ever really left. My name is William Roy Mercer, but don't call me that. Only my granddaddy did, and he's long gone now. Just call me Will. Anyway, this story ain't one I tell lightly, 'cause even 6 months later, I can still feel the damn chill of that night in my bones. It started when a hell of a storm came ripping through these parts of North Carolina, tearing up trees and tossing roofs. My granddaddy's old cabin took the worst of it. Damn thing was nearly split in two. Now, that cabin wasn't just some rickety shack in the woods. It was his pride, the place where he taught me how to shoot, how to skin a deer, how to survive when the world turned mean. And now, thanks to Mother Nature throwing a tantrum, it was damn near unlivable. It took me 2 months to get time off work, gather supplies, and make the trek out there. The cabin's deep in the woods of North Carolina, about 12 miles from the nearest paved road. I drove as far as my truck would take me, then hiked the last 3 miles on foot, gear strapped to my back. Sun was setting by the time I got there, and it was worse than I expected. Roof caved in, one wall near ripped off, and debris scattered like a tornado had thrown itself a party. I wasn't gonna let it stay that way. No, I set up camp near the wreckage and got to work. First couple days were cutting wood, clearing the debris, hammering down what I could salvage. The nights were quiet. Too quiet. Now, I've spent enough time in these woods to know what normal sounds like. But this, just dead silence, made my skin crawl, but I chalked it up to exhaustion. Then, on the 4th night, I saw it. I was on the roof, replacing busted shingles, when I felt something. Like something's watching you. Yeah, that. I froze, hammer midair, and slowly turned my head. And there it was. A massive, black, silent object hovering just above the treetops, maybe 100 yards away. No lights, no sound. Just a solid, impossible thing blotting out the stars. My blood turned to ice. I wanted to run, to hide, but I couldn't move. My body just wouldn't listen. And then poof. Just like that, it was gone. I damn near fell off the roof. Heart pounding, hands shaking. I scrambled down and grabbed my flashlight. Now, a smarter man might have just packed up and left right then and there. But I'm stubborn and maybe a little stupid, so I decided to check it out. I moved toward the clearing where I'd seen it hovering, every step feeling heavier than the last. And that's when I saw them. 2 figures standing at the edge of the trees, half hidden by the underbrush. Short, maybe 4 feet tall. Their skin was this sickly, unnatural yellow, almost like they were rotting. And their eyes, Jesus Christ, their eyes, big, black, and empty. I tried to say something, tried to call out, but nothing came out. My throat locked up. Panic surged through me. My vision swam, and suddenly the whole world tilted sideways. My knees buckled, and just before I hit the ground, everything went black. Next thing I knew, I was on my back, staring up at the sky. I don't know how long I was out, minutes, maybe longer, but when I sat up, the clearing was empty. No figures. No strange object. Just the wind whispering through the trees like nothing had ever happened. But something had happened. I felt it in my bones. I wasn't supposed to be there anymore. I packed and left that night. Didn't even bother finishing the repairs. Drove straight home. I told myself I'd go back once I had time to make sense of what the hell happened. 6 months later, I did. This time, I came prepared. Brought extra flashlights, a shotgun, not that I thought it'd help against whatever the hell I saw. But this time, nothing happened that night. I fixed what needed fixing, spent as little time there as possible, and left. I sold the cabin and haven't been back since. That happened to me long ago. That day, I set out late in the afternoon, later than I wanted. My Winchester rifle and hunting knife sat secured in the truck beside me, along with enough ammo to handle anything the woods could throw at me. I got deep into the North Carolina wilderness. The sun had already dipped below, and the night had swallowed everything whole. I had planned to set up camp with plenty of daylight left, but my truck got stuck in some damn muddy rut on the way in, and by the time I got myself free, it was well past dusk. No choice but to make do. I found a decent clearing, set up my tent, and got a small fire going. No big meal tonight, just some jerky and a swig of whiskey to take the edge off. My rifle sat next to me. After a while, I kept looking around, feeling a bit scared. I swept my flashlight across the trees, but saw nothing. Figured I was just wound up from the late start, so I doused the fire, crawled into my tent, and forced myself to sleep. Next day, I shook off the stiffness, choked down some cold coffee, and shouldered my rifle. Time to hunt. My usual spot was about 2 miles east, a solid ridge overlooking a valley where deer love to wander at first light. Should have been an easy trek. The whole day passed, just like that. No hunt, no sightings. The one I was waiting for never appeared. I spent the entire day just searching, but it was all for nothing. But, half an hour in, just before dawn, I saw something that stopped me dead in my tracks. Up on the ridge, nestled between the trees, was a red glow, bright, pulsing, like a heartbeat. Now, I've seen plenty of weird shit in the woods' eyes catching light, odd reflections, but this was different. It didn't flicker like fire or move like headlights. It just beat, throbbing. I gritted my teeth and moved closer, rifle raised. But before I could get near, the sun broke the horizon and the light just disappeared. Gone. I let out a breath, telling myself I was just seeing things. Lack of sleep, maybe. I pressed on, reaching my stand. Got myself settled, scanned the valley below, and tried to shake off the unease. Then I saw it. A figure. Tall. Too tall. Maybe 7, 8 feet. Thin, gray skin stretched tight over a wiry frame. And those eyes, big, black, empty. The thing stood half hidden behind a tree, just watching me. I locked up. My breath hitched. I just stood there, gripping my rifle like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. Then it moved. Not a normal step. It glided. Smooth, unnatural. Stepped fully into view, and I swear to God, it waved. More like a slow, deliberate motion. My hands turned slick on the rifle grip. Then, just as I thought I might raise my weapon, might actually put a bullet on the creature head, but it did something that shattered every ounce of resolve I had left. It grabbed the tree next to it, a thick, old thing, sturdy as hell, and ripped it from the ground. Roots tore free, dirt sprayed into the air. It hurled the whole damn thing straight at me. I dove. The tree crashed where I'd just been standing, splintering on impact, sending debris flying. My ears rang, my body screamed, but I didn't stop to think. Didn't stop to breathe. I ran. My rifle bounced against my back, branches slashing at my face, my boots barely keeping up with the uneven ground. I didn't care. I just had to get the hell away. Behind me, I heard something fast, something moving through the trees like it didn't give a damn about obstacles. I didn't look back. I reached my camp in a blind panic, grabbed what little I could, my truck keys, my pack, and tore off toward my vehicle. I didn't bother with anything else. I didn't care. I never went back. For days, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just barely escaped death. My hands trembled when I tried to eat. Every night, I jolted awake, sweating, gasping. The image of that thing burned into my mind, the way it moved. I told no one about it, but yeah, I posted on the internet about the story that happened to me.